Hi and welcome. I'm Andy Miocha and you're watching A News. Here are the headlines. Russia says it's open to offering the US access to rare minerals. Only Turkey can save Europe from its deadlock, says Recep Tayyip Erdogan. UN's Biodiversity Conference resumes in Italy. Negotiators work on securing billions of dollars annually in nature finance. Thank you for tuning in. Russian President Vladimir Putin said he is open to offering the United States access to rare minerals in joint projects, including mining in Russia's, quote, new territories, referring to occupied parts of Ukraine.
The Kremlin confirmed that Russia holds substantial rare earth metal reserves and is willing to explore deals to develop them. President Vladimir Putin offered the U.S. the opportunity to jointly explore these deposits and supply aluminium to the U.S. domestic market, suggesting a future economic agreement between the two countries. U.S. President Donald Trump had previously stated that major economic development transactions with Russia would take place. Rare earth metals, a group of 17 elements, are crucial for making magnets that powerful electric vehicles, cell phones, missile systems, and other electronics. Due to their importance in these sectors, securing reliable supplies is geopolitically significant. According to U.S. Geological Survey data, Russia possesses the world's fifth largest reserves of rare earth metals, following China, Brazil, India, and Australia. Following Putin's suggestion of possible collaboration with the United States, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov emphasized that the U.S. depends on rare earth metals and Russia has abundant supplies, suggesting the potential for cooperation or deals based on this resource. Putin also expressed to state TV on Monday that Russia is open to joint projects with American partners, including both government and private sectors, as part of a potential future Russia-U.S. economic agreement. He suggested the possibility of opening the American market to Russian aluminium producers, suggesting they could sell 2 million tons without significantly affecting prices, though it could help stabilize them. He further emphasized the potential for collaboration with American companies, describing the project as capital and investment intensive, with an estimated value of $15 billion.
Rare earth metals are a very important component, very important resources for modern sectors of the economy, and we're not doing much in this direction yet. We must do more. The purpose of today's meeting is to focus administrative resources on this area at the first stage. By the way, we would also be ready to offer our American partners, when I say partners, I mean not only government structures but also companies, if they showed interest in working together.
Meanwhile, the U.S. and Ukraine are negotiating a separate deal involving rare earth metals, which Trump stated is pretty close to conclusion. However, Putin noted that those negotiations were not a concern for Russia.
Across the globe, people are continuing to show their support for Ukraine following the third anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion, with rallies held in New York, London, Berlin, Paris, and other cities.
Rallies in support of Ukraine have continued worldwide, with demonstrators marking the third anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion. The rally coincided with talks between US President Donald Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron at the White House. In New York City, hundreds gathered in Times Square on Monday, calling for global solidarity.
I'm here today in New York City, on Times Square, to send message to all world. The war in Ukraine is total injustice. The world leaders is a weakness, and they are doing everything just for them agenda and political ambition.
Meanwhile, in London, over 1,000 people gathered in Trafalgar Square, including many Ukrainians living in the UK.
Be here tonight with you to mark the 3rd anniversary.
Berlin also saw thousands march to the Brandenburg Gate, with demonstrators making stops at the Russian embassy.
I hope that the new elected government will continue to supply weapons to Ukraine, that it will work together with the European states to ensure that a major counterweight to Russia, and now also to Trump, is developed, that they also start a joint army, for example, that all European states support Ukraine, even if, for example, Orban does not join in, or other nationalist countries.
In Warsaw, both Ukrainians and Poles protested, voicing not only their support for Ukraine, but also criticism of Trump's remarks that blamed Kyiv for not stopping the fighting.
Honestly, this came as a shock to me because I have always thought that the United States, as a democratic country, as a country who who values freedom, would support the Ukrainian fight. But as for me, I think that this is unacceptable to not blame Russia for starting this war. This is unacceptable to blame Ukraine for, making this war happen. This is a false rhetoric that just should not sound in the democratic world.
In Paris, the Eiffel Tower was illuminated in Ukraine's blue and yellow colours as a symbol of solidarity. As the war enters its 4th year, it's Ukraine's civilians who endure the hardships that war has brought on the nation, with more than 10 million people forced to leave their homes and thousands who've lost their lives.
The United States sided with Russia at the United Nations during voting in the General Assembly and the Security Council on resolutions to mark the 3rd anniversary of the war in Ukraine. Americans first opposed a resolution in the General Assembly put forth by the Europeans that condemned Russian invasion. Then, at the UN Security Council, the US drafted and voted for a resolution which called for an end to the conflict, but contained no criticism of Russia. The Security Council passed the resolution, but 2 US allies, the UK and France, abstained after their attempts to amend the wording were vetoed.
This is why there can be...
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer said he would increase defense spending to 2.5% of GDP by 2027, rising to 3% after 2029. Ahead of his visit to Washington, Starmer told Parliament he was bringing the increase in defense spending forward to offer Europe more support in a, quote, new era, as the US is engaging in peace talks with Russia over the war in Ukraine. Calling the planned increase the biggest since the end of the Cold War, Starmer said it would mean a cut to international aid spending.
In the short term, it can only be funded through hard choices. And in this case, that means we will cut our spending on development assistance, moving from 0.5% of GNI today to 0.3% in 2027, fully funding our increased investment in defence. I want to be clear to the House, that is not an announcement I am happy to make.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says only his country can rescue the European Union from, quote, deadlock. Erdogan considers Turkish EU membership the only solution in revitalizing the bloc's aging economy and workforce. He warned against the rise of far-right in Western countries and cautioned the EU against repeating past mistakes, which he says have hindered Ankara's accession process. Trade unionists and Green campaigners staged a protest in Brussels against European Commission's plans that they claim are driving Europe towards deregulation that will weaken workers' rights and environmental protections.
Activists from various environmental and workers' rights groups gathered outside the European Commission headquarters in Brussels just one day before the EU's expected announcement regarding the Clean Industrial Deal. A draft document from the European Commission reveals that the EU plans to ease state aid regulations, reduce risks for power purchase agreements, and relax rules on winter gas storage. These changes aim to lower costs for energy-intensive industries, making them more competitive.
The workers are not an obstacle. Workers' rights and workers' protections are not an obstacle to competitiveness. It's an asset for business. It's the way to do fair competitions, to set fair competitions rules in Europe. And this is what we're asking the Commission. Be fair and set fair competition rules where workers' rights and workers' protections are respected, where the human rights are respected. This is your task, this is your obligation, this is your duty.
The Clean Industrial Deal is a central component of European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen's strategy to address Europe's industrial decline. The Commission will present the deal during a meeting with industry representatives in Antwerp on Wednesday as part of a broader plan to boost competitiveness in the coming years.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reaffirmed Washington's commitment to its partnership with Saudi Arabia during a meeting with Saudi Defense Minister Prince Khalid bin Salman at the Pentagon. The visit follows Saudi Arabia, a major U.S. ally, recently hosting high-level U.S. and Russian officials to discuss the war in Ukraine and restoring broader Russia-U.S. ties.
Our relationship is a critical center of gravity in a very turbulent region in the world. So I want to thank the Kingdom also, more specifically, for hosting important discussions between the United States and Russia as we pursue one of President Trump's top priorities, which is bringing peace to the war in Ukraine. And I also want to continue deepening and strengthening our partnership to pursue security and prosperity for both Americans and Saudis.
Two British nationals, a Chinese American and a local translator, were arrested in Afghanistan. The British elderly couple ran an NGO providing training and education in the country. Our Tamim Bahiz has more in Kabul.
British nationals Peter and Barbie Reynolds have been arrested in Afghanistan by the country's de facto authorities. The elderly couple, along with another foreign national and a local translator, were taken from central Bamiyan province to Kabul over 3 weeks ago. The Taliban's Interior Ministry has confirmed the arrest of 4 individuals, 2 British citizens, a Chinese American national, and their Afghan translator, but has provided no further details on the reasons behind their detention. The Reynolds have lived in Afghanistan for 18 years and run Rebuild, an organization providing education and training programs. One of their projects reportedly focused on supporting mothers and children. Their daughter, Sarah Entwistle, told Times Radio that their parents had always sought to respect the Taliban. However, after weeks of silence, their family is demanding answers and calling on the British consulate to intervene. For now, the fate of Peter and Barbie Reynolds remains uncertain. Their family continues to urge authorities to act swiftly for their release. Tamim Bahis for A News in Kabul, Afghanistan.
Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan want to double their trade turnover. Their 2030 goal was discussed at talks in Astana. Our Fariza Kalimurzina has more.
Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan set an ambitious target of doubling their trade by 2030 from the current $1.7 billion as both nations look to strengthen trade ties. Prime Minister of Kazakhstan Olzhas Bektenev and Adilbek Kasimaliyev, chairman of the Kyrgyz Cabinet of Ministers, who arrived in Astana for his first official visit since taking office in December, have discussed the future of trade relations and the implementation of various projects aimed at achieving this target. The talks covered a broad range of topics, including trade, economic investment, and water energy cooperation. A key highlight was the growth in the transit and transport sector. Specifically, road transport volume in 2024 reached nearly 2.5 million tons of cargo, a 19% increase compared to the previous year. A key focus of the discussions was inter-regional cooperation, given the 1,200 kilometers shared border between the two countries. Kazakhstan borders 3 regions of Kyrgyzstan, which opens up opportunities for expanding cooperation. In this context, the opening of a new checkpoint, Aksu-Kamyshanovka, on the Kazakh side was discussed. Construction is set to begin next year, making it the 9th checkpoint between the two nations. Kazakhstan remains one of Kyrgyzstan's key trade, economic and investment partners. Since 2005, Kazakhstani companies have invested almost $1.3 billion in the Kyrgyz economy, underscoring the strategic focus of such investments. Kazakh-Kyrgyz relations are rapidly developing, experiencing a phase of active growth. Experts suggest that Kasım Aliyev's visit to Astana will help strengthen and expand bilateral ties between the two countries, and the trade dynamic between the two nations confirms this sentiment. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Fariza Kalimurzina, A News.
Iran will not succumb to pressure and sanctions imposed by Washington, the country's foreign minister said after meeting his Russian counterpart in Tehran. During his one-day trip to Iran, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov discussed regional and bilateral topics with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, state media reported. The visit comes a day after the United States imposed a fresh round of sanctions targeting Iran's oil industry, the country's main source of income. Azerbaijan hosted a media training session for journalists from colonized regions. Participants also met with media, experts, and MPs.
Journalists from various colonized territories have gathered in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, to hone their media skills. In a workshop organized by ADA University, local experts have shared their extensive knowledge and know-how to promote critical thinking capabilities and questioning skills in the field of journalism.
During this conducted training and during these aforementioned meetings, they had an opportunity on learning communication benchmarks, and in terms of exchange of experience and exchange of ideas, these meetings were so fruitful for them.
Media representatives from colonized regions also met with Azerbaijani media, like Press Council. Journalists also participated in various meetings with Baku Initiative Group, AIR Center think tank, and with Azerbaijani parliament members.
Georgia's foreign minister called for international monitoring in the country's breakaway regions of Abkhazia and South Ossetia at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. Nini Nikolashvili has more in Tbilisi.
At the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva, Georgian Foreign Minister Makabajarishvili announced its plan to reintroduce resolution about demanding monitoring access to Abkhazia and South Ossetia, Georgia's two breakaway regions, citing humanitarian concerns. Georgia's top diplomat reiterated country's commitment to the human rights while criticizing Russia for ignoring international rulings that define the presence in Georgia as an occupation. On domestic matters, the minister addressed what she described as Georgia's record-breaking 2024 elections, urging political stability and respect for the people's choice. She also highlighted progress in judicial reforms, noting a significant drop in cases filed against Georgia at the European Court of Human Rights. Georgia, she stated, remains committed to peace, stability, sovereignty, and further engagement with UN human rights mechanisms. I am Nini Nikolashvili, reporting from Tbilisi, A News.
Turkey has secured the second spot in global mega yacht production, according to the country's government.
Transport and Infrastructure Minister Abdulkadir Uraloğlu highlighted the remarkable progress of Turkish shipyards in high technology and design, enhancing their competitiveness on the global stage. Citing the 2025 global order book for mega yachts by Boat International, he noted that Turkey has climbed to second place worldwide in terms of total yacht length, trailing only Italy with an 8.9% increase. The report indicates that 1,138 mega yachts are currently under production or on order globally. with a combined length of 45,487 meters. Minister Uraloğlu further stated that Turkey holds a 12.9% share in global orders and a 14% share in total yacht length, solidifying its strong position in the industry.
The future of artificial intelligence has been the focus of tech entrepreneurs and financial backers who gathered in Doha for the second annual Web Summit hosted by Qatar.
The four-day 2025 Web Summit, opened in Doha, Qatar, features thousands of political, economic, and technological figures from around 90 countries and regions worldwide. Expecting to have 25,000 attendees, many renowned scholars, entrepreneurs, and technical experts are scheduled to deliver important speeches at the event as it explores the latest trends in global technological development with wider topics, including artificial intelligence, new energy, cybersecurity, and venture capital. AI, in particular, has emerged as a central focus of this year's summit.
Qatar is trying to diversify away from oil and gas and try to build a knowledge-based economy. And this Web Summit, by having all these startups, all these innovative ideas, will accelerate this process.
The organizer aims to build a diverse innovation ecosystem with the help of this summit to promote technological innovation and economic transformation in the Middle East and North Africa region and eliminate the global digital division.
Some 300 representatives from over 150 countries gathered in Rome for a second attempt to figure out how to generate $200 billion annually to stop nature loss by 2030. The UN's Biodiversity Conference resumed in Italy after the COP16 talks in Colombia in November last year were suspended without resolving a heated dispute between rich and developing countries over how to work together to raise the money needed to halt the destruction of nature. The talks will conclude on Thursday. Hikers in eastern Switzerland are exploring rare ice caves on the Morterasch Glacier, taking advantage of the freezing winter weather. These ice caves, formed by meltwater surging under the glacier, are temporary and can be dangerous.
The Morterasch Glacier in eastern Switzerland is the largest one in the country and third largest in the Eastern Alps. But because of climate change, it's melting. And now, as the water surges through and the warm air currents flow into the gaps, it's creating amazing tunnels and caves. Hikers are keen to get a rare glimpse inside the short-lived and potentially lethal ice cavities.
Well, it feels amazing. I feel surpassed. You know, when I walk in, it's like something that is very big compared to me. I feel like I'm a small creature when I'm in this here, and I feel like I'm a part of nature.
Hey, it's the first time I'm here.
Yeah.
My first feeling, intuition, when I was in this big one here, I thought it's a door to a parallel world. And if you go very, very deep, you might never come back.
It's safer for walkers to visit these during the cold winter months, but in the summer, they become extremely dangerous or even inaccessible due to the risk of collapsing ice blocks and powerful water streams. Switzerland is home to more than half of the glaciers in the Alps, but due to the climate change, temperatures in the region are rising at nearly twice the global average. If greenhouse gas emissions continue to increase, the Alps glaciers are projected to lose more than 80% of their current mass by 2100.
Well, that's all we have for you for now. Thank you for watching and do stay tuned to A News.